Ṣẹ̀kẹ̀rẹ̀ lọ bájò, ṣẹ̀kẹ̀rẹ̀ lọ bájò, olúwa mi ò dìde ojó
The Ashen Forge. The Ashen Forge.
Hello and welcome to the Ashen Forge. I am Phantom X, joined as always by Diggs and the legendary Neurotoxin, hopefully free of any issues tonight. We shall see. How you doing?
Great. I'm a little exhausted from many dance classes this week, and I've got more tomorrow at the Lindy Hop Festival, but and then also playing games when I get back. But you know,
the joke would be me saying, "Are you teaching or are you learning?" Because I imagine you're doing both.
Kind of mostly learning.
Yeah, okay.
Inadvertently teaching, but mostly learning.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like you always inadvertently end up teaching.
Yes.
Like that's a common thing that always seems to come up when you're going to events like this. So good stuff.
So big stuff has been happening. I don't know if either of you have played
Phase 3.
I've tried, but performance has not been so good. It's been very, very crashy on a system that's well above the minute specs. So,
really,
there you go. Yeah.
Surprising.
It just doesn't like my setup. Maybe they hate DDR4 memory or something.
No Man's Sky had a cool new update, so
yeah. I just started a new character before the show. In fact, I wasn't sure if we were going to do the show or just play No Man's Sky, but here we are.
And it's that's my sweet spot because I'm an explorer first, and there's new stuff to explore and new stuff to build, and I don't have to worry so much about risk versus reward. If I don't want to, I can have no risk, which is what I like. So I'm having a ton of fun there. It's another one of those things, I was not expecting, this time it's building ships, and I was not expecting that to be a thing.
That's so
kind of cool to build one yourself, and then you can have people walk around in the ship. And I think that's another one of my concerns with Ashes of Creation not having that level of building. And I was just realizing all those skins, those freehold skins that I purchased, and you don't even have a guarantee of getting your own freehold. Like, what am I going to use those for? I bought those thinking, well, sure, I'm going to have my own freehold. And then it's like, you got to jump through all these hoops. That's one of the things that I like. The World of Warcraft recently mentioned that too with their Midnight update. They're adding housing, and there's like, anybody who wants a house should be able to have a house. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's certainly an issue. The skins are fun though. I don't have a ton. I did not spend a lot of money. Well, I didn't spend a lot of extra money on skins, so I don't have a lot of them. I wish I had the Stufferton. That's the one I really wish I had.
Yep.
But some of them are nice. There's one, and I'm forgetting the name of it off the top of my head, that I ran around in as a dwarf that just looks nice. Looks really badass. So, at least the skins, where they need the money to go, look okay.
Nice. So that came in with Phase 3.
Hopping around on one of those big horned frog things. So they jump all funny and the dismount's a little funny, but I like it.
Did that come in with phase 3?
Yeah, phase 3. They've just started in the past couple of days or so, mailing out the cosmetics that they currently have available. Normally, you would have to choose which character gets to assign that cosmetic to their character and what they're using, but right now they're not putting those restrictions on because they haven't built that restriction system in. So right now, every character you make gets all the cosmetics that you have access to, that you own, that they currently have in. So I only have 2 of them, but they have a decent sized list of the ones that are available.
Nice.
Sorry, I just
And
totally
then,
lost my direction.
and that was so like that's costumes and mounts.
I believe so, but I think it's mostly just mounts right now. I don't know if they actually got any of the costumes in yet.
Oh, okay. And then, are there enough freeholds for anybody to know?
There are no freeholds right now. They're turned off.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
And there are some some costume skins. Also have the Majesty and Royalty. Royalty, Majesty looks pretty bad, but
those are one of the higher backer tiers, right?
I assume so. I honestly don't know what came with some of those Kickstarter things. I'd have to go back and look. I would assume Royalty is from that upgrading towards the PI.
Yeah, I believe that's the range where you would get one or both of those.
But it looks okay. I can't remember the name of the other one though. It looks really good.
Yeah.
So phase 3. So have you guys? So I'm sorry. I think I asked already. No, neither of you have jumped in yet. Yeah,
I got the most I was able to play without it busting down for me was I got up to level 4, got to not Hammerest, but the other one, the Nakua starting town. I saw that somebody left a lumberjack pack, resource pack on the ground. And so I slowly and sneakily navigated it all the way to the nearby settlement tier 0 just to find, no, there's just one NPC there with the busted quest. There's nowhere I can commit this box, which is like, damn, that sucks because I had to thread the needle through a lot of really dangerous stuff to get there with it. And so I kind of hit it out on the rocks, but it was a place that anybody would be able to find it. So I came back once and it was still there, but when I came back the next time, it wasn't. So somebody probably committed it when it finally got the first upgrade and was able to take packages like that. But it was only that track from the starting area to that first settlement that I was able to do without it crashing. Just about all the rest of the gameplay after that 15 minutes is nice. It had been just crash on gameplay start a few times there for a little while.
That's wild. I've not had any. I've had some server worker issues of like skips, but I mean, it's maybe kind of
apparently the 3080 just has like a lot of problems, like not just mine that's particularly messed up, but everybody's 3080s are seeming to have trouble with it.
Of course, when they did not have dynamic gridding on initially. Apparently, we have it on now. They have to turn it on and off manually. I've not noticed any differences, which I guess is what you would want, assuming it's on. But also, I rolled onto EU again, Lotharia with my EU folks, who are all sleeping right now. But So there's also a lower overall, I think, player base there. So I've not had to have, when I logged in, actually the day of release, I think it was like 3 a.m. their time, roughly somewhere 2 to 4 a.m. depending on where they are, where you are in Europe. And there's like nobody on. So maybe my first experience was a little skewed because I didn't have to fight with anyone for server issues. But
Yeah, for you it'd be 5 hours ahead, I think, roughly.
yeah, it's 6 to get to London. But it's okay. I think it's overall better than phase 1, phase 2, phase 2.5. But how much better? Not a lot better. The anvils are there. They're pretty bare. The inside of the mountain is beautiful. Like the whole design that they have going on looks really, really nice. There's nothing in it yet. There's like, you have all these NPCs, half will look stoned or drunk, and some are running through
the
walls.
voices on the new NPCs are just terrible.
Oh, the AI is it's not even consistent. Like some talk really fast and some talk really slow, and then some have robotic voices. Some can't even pronounce the words. Like Verra.
Most of them usually can't pronounce the words.
So I just would have rather had text than dealing with that AI stuff. But and then you get outside of the mountain, and all of your mobs are the same as they've always been, and I don't know. It's leveling. I think I'm at level like 7 now. I'm not sure. 8 maybe. I mean, it's okay. Combat. I'm still a cleric. Feels exactly the same. Actually, now with armor being so hard to find, any kind of gear upgrades, early on, it's a little bit harder to heal because I don't have. I could still heal fine, but I could tell a difference by not having gear. Which is a whole thing that's happened with the econ side of things that have made people pretty irritable in the gear acquisition realm. They basically more or less shut it off in favor of crafting. The problem with that is when you start fresh servers, it takes forever to get up to crafting. Just by the way settlements, they're called settlements now, not nodes, work. And so you had people that were like, leveling to 25 in their starter gear. And I think we're very annoyed at the process. They claim they've increased the drop rates, but yesterday and today I've had none. Well, I guess yesterday it would have been today. I mean, we were grinding for about 3 hours with highwaymen, so humanoids, and didn't see a one gear piece drop at all.
Farming. You were farming.
Just sucks.
We were farming experience.
Okay. And is there a difference? Is it just a name change between settlement and nodes, or is now there a difference between settlement and node? Is there a difference in the concept of settlement versus nodes?
As far as we know. I guess nodes was always the internal development wording, and they've now added settlements as sort of the outward facing player term.
Nodes was the wrong term to begin with. I had to refer to them as sockets before because using the word nodes was confusing, but I believe they're, nodes is what people often refer to where you would find your resources, for example.
Yes.
So everybody else is thinking, or maybe in coding and other things, the word node is used in other ways, and that was starting to get really confusing. So, hopefully it'll help clear things up for them and be less confusing to people.
But it seems like it would be confusing because the concept of nodes, a lot of the world would be starting without any settlements.
Yes,
a settlement would imply that there was at least an encampment.
Instead of wilderness. Yeah.
Yeah.
At some point, the first asshole who went through the gates was like, all right, I'm going to pick all these places and draw up an arbitrary map and say a little prayer to the gods. And everybody who comes through is going to know that these are the places for these areas and these are the geographic and political regions and everything. It's like, what? Okay. Like there isn't actually any lore behind why all of those are established in the way that they are. Or
Oh,
if
maybe
there
I need to
is
look at the
any
map.
if it's like
Mm.
really severely lacking.
And also and maybe it was always going to be this way. But I thought mayors would have a choice of the name of the town.
No.
I don't think that was ever a thing.
Nope.
It would have been nice, but no. That might have been a
You'd have a lot of-
COE thing, but not
Yeah.
this one.
You'd have a lot of dicks and vaginas, basically.
No. The mayors, no, there's a cycle. So not that the mayors get to name it whatever they want, but there's a cycle, right? Because some of them would be and it should change based on, or it should be possible to change it based on the race that is has the most population. But I guess still the mayor would be the one who's making those choices. Okay.
No, the mayor's just picking your commissions and your property value, basically what you're wanting to build, with consent of the people around them for the most part, but not the names. Yeah. But it's it's felt, when I say things are improved, it's certainly better. During the live stream, they talked about how this was the best launch they've had of Alpha 2. When you look at phase 1, 2, 2.5 in this, I think that's entirely accurate. Now they've mitigated their DDoS stuff just a lot better. I think there were queues of like 1,000, but I also think that, I don't know that means there were like 20,000 people trying to play. I think they were just very careful and intentional in how they let people in, more than anything, which obviously is going to make the launch better. So they've kind of learned, but it's definitely, from a persistent world, has felt better. But yeah, otherwise it's the same. Clerics, that plays just the same. Yeah, just nothing new to it. So I don't know. What I wanted to kind of focus on a little bit, and this has been stuck in my brain. I don't know. I don't think that I'm reading too much into this, because everyone always comes in and, either it's a joke of, this game's never going to get released, or when do you think beta is going to be here? When do you think the game's going to get released? It's been 9 years. So on the live stream Friday, they went out of their way to talk about beta. The game had been in phase 3 for all of like 3 days, maybe 2.5 days. And here they are on a live stream and, talking about the next stage, beta. And I don't know why you would do that. I don't know what the motivation is, unless it's just to sort of plant the seeds in people's brains. Because everyone's always talked about 2027, 2028. Like, that makes me start wondering, like, I think there could be a legit goal of 2026 for beta and, potentially release, if not early 2027. And then on Burns's interview, which was posted yesterday, so if you've not seen it, you should go watch it. Intrepid, by the way, did nothing to promote it until every one of us complained as creators, and then Steven put something out. But anyways, in that, he also, without being asked, goes into this thing about exit criteria, which is the name of the show tonight. And now that they have met their entering criteria for phase 3, now they can start kind of looking at exit criteria. It's like, dude, this game you haven't been in phase 3 a week. Like, you yourself had said, phase 3 is going to be probably at least a year. Like, why would you be talking about all this now without anyone asking about it? Like, nobody even asked.
And that would be if all of the stuff that was supposed to be at the start of phase 3 was in at the start of phase
I
3.
have no idea. Oh, my thought about 2026.
No, no, no. Yeah. If it was gonna be going for a year, that would be assuming that all of the stuff that was originally supposed to be at the start of phase
Oh,
3
gotcha. The phase 2 stuff
was
is
in
not
at
in.
the start of phase 3.
I don't know. I
Um,
mean, and again, this is not like PI secrets. I'm not out here trying to break NDA or anything. I really don't know, but I do still wonder. And I put out a video about it of do they release with half of Verra?
well,
Is it if you release with
that's what I
half
was
of
thinking.
Verra and you only have a couple of the secondaries and some other things and you add them in later, then I think the end of 2026 becomes wholly possible. That's 2 years of alpha testing. That'll be 10 years basically of the game. And I don't know why else you start talking about your exit criteria in beta at this stage, unless you're trying to prep people's minds for that possibility. I just can't figure it out otherwise. So
Nero, from a dev perspective, it seems really weird to release with 2 secondary archetypes out of 8. I mean, I would rather do 0 out of 8. And then it seems really weird to only do 2 out of 8. If I had the choice as a dev, I would do 0 out of 8 and say I'm going to add secondary archetypes altogether later. What do you think from a dev point of view?
Release what with 2 out of 8?
Well, they're only releasing
Tank and cleric.
augments for 2, which would give us 2 secondary archetypes, right?
Yeah, but when
Out of 8.
is their target for that? Is that
I'm
for
just saying. I'm saying
the start
release.
of beta or the end of phase? I don't think. No, you can't be. If you don't have level 50 and all the things required to be able to do level 50 stuff and all of those systems, you don't have a game that's even in its beta state yet.
Right.
Because that is a core essential set of features that must be in and implemented to some usable extent by the end of alpha. Now, somebody could argue, well, hey, we've got the system working. We can prove that the augment system is working. Therefore, we can move to beta with just the 2 that we have. But is that going to be satisfying to the players? Not as much. The faster they can get the rest of the archetypes in, the less crappy it's going to be. But they need to really be a bit clearer about that if they intend to be clear about it. Otherwise, it could very well be that they're just intentionally being unclear about when all of that stuff is actually supposed to be ready and available. But if going back to the question, if they launched end of 2026 with only 2 out of 8 of the secondary archetypes available, no, that game is not going to sell subscriptions.
Yeah.
Hell no, it isn't.
Yeah.
Not a chance. Not one chance whatsoever. That is a ship that will not sail.
One of the interesting things to me, again, I mean, we just happen to have World of Warcraft drop the midnight announcement, so we learned some stuff about that right around the time of Phase 3, and also No Man's Sky. But No Man's Sky, in so many ways, seems to be the antithesis of Ashes of Creation. And I mean, just in terms of the way they developed, how transparent they are, which is practically none, but also over the years, almost the same length of time. They just keep doing update after update after update after update. And you're like, oh my God, who even knew this was going to be added? Like, they dropped what they could and it didn't have everything. It might have been the equivalent of having, I don't know, 4 out of 8 secondary archetypes. I don't know. But they were like, hey, we did it. Thank you for your support. And we're going to just keep updating over time. And we're going to do that a couple of times a year. And we're going to keep going and make this a game that you guys are going to have fun with. And and it's not even monetized. It's like free updates. There's no packages coming along with it. It's just interesting to me how that development system is almost literally the complete opposite philosophy from Ashes of Creation.
They already made their money.
Yeah.
Game sold very well. So,
Yep. Yep.
But you don't think they could do just, I feel like the tank and cleric, if you were going to pick 2 secondaries to release with, those would make the most sense, because that starts to feel like, all right, if every class has to pick between 2, now that starts to get into your one class does, your classes blend together a lot. They all feel the same. Like a Guild Wars 2 or something where you have self heals or you have, self defense. Can everyone become the tank? Can everyone heal a little bit or whatever it might be? But if you were to release, like, those 2 would make the most sense versus like a rogue and a summoner or something, where it might not
I
fit as
think
well.
you either do 8 or 0.
Yeah.
I think
It's no, I would say if we're talking about betas over live launch day 1, if you don't have all 8 secondary archetypes, you're not going to maintain subscriptions. That's a fact. And if you don't maintain subscriptions, you're over. And all of that money was for waste.
Yeah.
So, I don't
But
think
we got the 4 schools. I have not heard the 4 schools for any of the secondary archetypes or any of the archetypes. I don't know how we say that, but I had not heard any of the 4 schools per archetype before yesterday.
I thought it was 2 per archetype, and he mentioned about the 2 from.
No, we've known 2 for a lot of them, but
I didn't watch that video in full. It was
he named 4. Yeah, there's supposed to be 4. Previously, he's only named about 2 per each. But this time he seemed to name 4 schools for both, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Is
like
that right, Phantom?
Yeah, like the cleric, the 4 guys. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. One would be heals, like I forget what they're called, restoration maybe or something. One was purification. So your augment would be removal of corruption or whatever. The other one was radiance, which was damage, radiant damage basically. And I'm forgetting what the fourth was salvation. Actually, I think, which I'm not sure. Which Wings of Salvation is the movement thing you get skill. I don't know if it's somehow related to that. But the radiant damage actually raises an interesting question, because the necro, like you're supposed to, it's what, summoner. I keep
Summoner
wrong.
cleric.
Yeah, is the necro. So we always assume there'd be death magic. But the only one we got out of that was radiance, which is not death magic. It's the life magic basically. It's what the cleric has. So I'll be super
so
curious.
name them again. Restoration.
I could be out wrong. I'm pretty sure restoration, purification, radiance or radiant, and then I think salvation was the 4th one that he mentioned.
Salvation, interesting. Okay,
but nothing out of that speaks to death magic. So I'm curious to see how they do the necro now. And the tanks, I don't remember off the top of my head, and I did not write this down. I think one was like fortitude and like stamina. I mean, it's your basic it sounded like your basic like traits, right? That you would get, you know, you increase your toughness or you increase your defense or you increase your health. Yeah, Stunner, that's, I would agree with that. The idea that by cutting down systems, they actually ended up with more stuff, more points of interest. I would rather we have the Western continent and have it be full of fun stuff than them try to put two continents together and each of those continents only have half of what makes it fun. Both of them are huge. I mean, the worlds are large, so you know, it's not like having one continent would. I don't think it would be an issue with player population and being too close together. Everyone always talks about, well, you know, you need the other starting areas, and how can you do the econ stuff if you're missing half the harvestables because you don't have the continent. Like, well, they're actively developing that right now. So if they've made the decision, I'm not saying they have, but if they've made the decision to release with one continent, then they can very easily change their econ because that is literally, they are doing it right now. Not like you would be breaking a system that you would have to go back and fix. Like, they are in the process of creating the system. So I don't think it's as problematic as people might think.
Still haven't seen master tier resources in the game world, so you know, we might be able to get to towns, but that doesn't mean we're going to be able to see things beyond level 25 for a little while still.
Well, and so one of the other things that one of the other
even
interesting
35 would be a nice bump up to be able to touch more of the systems.
Yeah. One of the other interesting mentions that came across with Burns was that there will be zones that are sort of level oriented. So I think we would always kind of operate it, or what had been reported were nodes through growth and change and destruction and grow, you know, they would, levels would adjust with them and there'd be content for everybody and whatnot. But I mean, it's pretty clear that the two, so I guess it would be what Anvils and Riverlands right now would be considered levels 1 through 30. And that the other zones around them, that, you know, desert and the tropics would be 50. Now, I don't know if that's 1 through 50 or if that's 30 through 50. I would assume 30 through 50. But that starts to kind of change the vision a little bit when you actually start segregating zones by level. And I get part of why they're saying that is they want players to have a leveling experience. But I think, again, nodes is what brought me into this. And the idea that a node could spawn something that I could go nowhere near because it was a dragon that was level 50 and I just started my character yesterday and I'm level 4. Like, that actually was intriguing to me. That was interesting to me. There were lots of encounters like that in EverQuest where you'd have to be careful walking down a road because you would come across a hill giant that was, you know, twice your level. But they've changed that a little bit.
So what do you think the change was to?
Just having level defined zones. So,
but won't they kind of still change as the area develops? Like 1 through 30 doesn't mean that. I mean, doesn't 1 mean that it will develop up through 30?
Yes, but not beyond.
Yeah, which means the Riverlands, the Anvils, and the other two, and I guess the Underdark technically as well, will not actually be able to provide level 31 to 50 content, even if you get the things all the way up to city level. If that's not actually the design and he misspoke, or it sounded better on paper, but when they finally said it on the stream, they realized, wait a minute, that's not the way, you know, they're going to change it. But that definitely seems silly. It still needs to go back to more of the things that they had talked about more, you know, way back, that things that are tougher, or that's been constantly talked about, at least on the show, the idea that things are a lot tougher, more towards the POIs and away from the roads. The roads have the low, like level 1 1 to 10 range stuff, no matter what region you're in. But then beyond the roads, or as like little special additions to the road during events and stuff, you'll have whatever level of enemy that area has, potentially on the road ish a little bit, just in small amounts, to be jerks, not enemies that are of the highest difficulty in the region just constantly being spray painted everywhere across the world. So that would be something that would definitely help out with the, not needing to limit the level of things in the starting areas. And if you need a bigger runway for people to start in the starting areas, then, do something maybe different than having nodes that you can progress, or make it very clear from the start these nodes will never get above village level, just to let everybody know that, don't plan on this place being a big winner. It's never going to be able to be a city. It's never going to be able to be a town. Which, if that's what people are looking to do, cool. But I don't think anybody actually wants to live in a place they know is always going to be small time. Like, that kind of sucks, especially when they get higher level.
So
I guess what I'm thinking right now is that it's almost like we do need Steven to give us. Maybe he needs to do a ask me anything. It's been question forms, just so we can ask questions about what the actual current design is. How close is this to the Kickstarter design? Let's do a compare and contrast in terms of those initial
I've
ideas.
been thinking about that recently myself.
And to make it even more confusing, he did, I think, throw in there, oh, and we will add higher level mobs, for maybe for events or something. It's like, well, you just said it was to level 30. So, like, what do you mean you might add in more?
Right.
It's
And so
confusing
what are
as to that message. So,
and I'm realizing we haven't really heard about the weather systems. Like, I was kind of excited to see what would happen when we got like a magical storm. That was one of the big things. Was Jeffrey Bard still around when that was mentioned? My goodness.
you know what else we've not heard anything of? The Underrealm.
I was going to say Monster Queen. Oh, right.
Underrealm,
Exactly.
North Tolnar.
So, exactly.
Tolnar is
So
not
when
even
you're
on their
saying
roadmap.
exactly. So what could not, but I mean, that was a stretch goal originally in the Kickstarter. So I don't mind that one being on the back burner so much. But we haven't heard anything about monster coin events. Maybe that's what this mention of the higher monsters was supposed to be. But
That'll be there. Those will be in, because they already have that tech. Because Steven, well, he did it to me. He spawned in during while I was streaming, and he killed me as a like a beetle or something. So, like, that the ability to hop into that.
I think you actually did that. I mean, the tech to have somebody pilot it, yeah, but I don't know if the player client has that available yet.
Well, his did. Yeah, I don't know if the other
devs can do it. Yeah, devs can do that. Of course, I'm not surprised by that.
No, but the base stuff is there, because he loves to do that, but on their end, with using skills and stuff. But so I think monster coins will be one that probably makes it. But yeah, no, there's I think anything that's on that stretch goal list, yeah, you start to question a little bit. Parlor games,
a little bit.
Nothing skin wise, but parlor games, clearly stock market, like that one, they might as well just come out and say, yeah, we're going to do that some other time. I think people have even quit asking about that. What else? There was another mention of what I perceived as a change. Well, no, it was, because Steven referred to himself as what did he say? He said, I wrote it down. Where did it go? like the idealized Steven, I think is what he called it. When he first started doing this, yeah, an idealized Steven. So when he thought he could do anything, is that they're no longer going to have. Yeah, there was an attempt to have each node, I guess now settlement, have roughly equivalent POIs and things like that in dungeons, and that is not the case. That's where he said that was an idealized vision that I had that just we're not going to be able to do. Which kind of makes sense when you start thinking of the trajectory of players. Like if they're contributing to a node, then obviously the nodes around the starting area are going to probably level and things faster, and you're going to get more churn of POIs and dungeons and stuff. But he did mention that not everything will be equal. So, and that he doesn't see that as a necessarily bad thing. So that seemed like a change to me. All of this seems like less content, basically, and
It's not just that it's less and it's different. Like I will continue to say I much enjoyed what I played in Alpha 1 over what I've been playing in Alpha 2, not
Yeah.
just because of the performance, but it felt like it had more of the core of the things we were looking for.
Yeah.
And even though it was jank and didn't work for a lot of stuff, I think they eventually towards the end got a bit of the crafting system working. And I like the way that it was represented there, where you made the parts and then you brought the parts together to make the final product. That's how it always should have been. I don't like the recipes they have right now. I don't like them at all. I don't like this crafting system whatsoever. It's other than the quality of the materials you put in, it's still going to be static attributes, static material input, and no room for experimentation in sight. So it just ain't doing it for me. Especially the greatly increased quantities of materials required for a lot of different things that just seem absolutely ridiculous. Like there's no way these things need to have this sort of stuff. if if you were making a batch of 20 of this sort of thing, okay, I could see some of the materials, but not one of those like multi processed and treated wood pieces per flatbread or whatever, to be able to make the pizza item or whatever it's going to be that you're, the materials just for even consumables were absolutely ridiculous before, and they're still ridiculous. The materials for equipment that people actually want to use, it's absolutely ridiculous. So it's got nothing on that end. It's got absolutely nothing that I'm looking for, and everything I think I actually don't.
Trial. I don't know if you know Trial. He's around a lot, and nicest community. Talking about crafting, made it a great question asked during the live stream that did not get answered. I think somewhat specifically, but is why do we have to have vendor bought items to craft anything when you're already being charged a fee to craft? Yeah, there's your money sink. So what's the point of making us also spend money on vendored items? I don't know. I thought it was a good question. Are you trying to make this overly complex? Like, are you pulling systems that you've seen different places? Some places make you spend money to craft. Some make you buy items from a vendor. And you decided to use all of it.
Yeah, seems like it.
It does. It seems like it's like let's pull all of this together, and to a point it becomes
just
kind of
because you
unfun.
put it all in doesn't mean you can't take some out.
He asked that.
Ridiculous. You're right.
Did not get answered though.
It also kind of makes me wish that we could do some timey-wimey stuff and have current day Steven in these interviews with Jeffrey in the early days. I still, the more time passes, it's just so amusing to think about Jeffrey Bard's face when Steven would talk about what's going to be in the game, and Jeffrey would be like, "Wait, what? Okay, I guess since he said it, we I gotta make that happen. Okay." um, and because I have
I
a
used to
feeling
do that
Jeffrey
to him
Bard
a
was
lot.
kind of saying, you know, that's gonna add a lot of time. That's gonna be challenging, and I bet now Steven would get that a little bit more. And I just wish I could really see current day Steven talking up what the possibilities for Ashes could be with Jeffrey now that he's had 8 years of experience on a development team. Because I tell you, it is really fun to watch gamers their first year on a dev team when they come in, they're like, yeah, we're gonna, and then you can just do this and you can just, and okay, yeah, I guess I can't do that. Okay, um, all
That's
right, all right.
where he says the idealized Steven that
That's
existed
what I'm
many years
saying.
ago.
I know.
I mean, they're trying their hardest. I don't want anyone to take this as like a knock on them individually. I love Planendorf. Planendorf's awesome. I've played with him. I've chatted with him. Just
No,
I have a great team, but
one of my favorite examples though is when before I got onto a QA team, I was like, yeah, this bug, and they didn't catch that bug, and then I get on the QA team and it's like, no, I had that bug in there for 4 months and they're saying they're not going to fix it, but it's not because QA didn't catch it, it's because the programmer's saying they're not going to fix it, which is different. And you just find out lots of stuff like that happens. You go in as a gamer thinking all this stuff, and then you get on the dev team and you realize, oh, okay, well,
so
I would love to be able to do that.
another thing that caught my eye, caught my ear. We've talked a little bit about will lawless zones stay in Verra or not. That's never really been commented on. In lawless zones were pitched to us as we don't have naval content yet. Naval's supposed to be free of corruption, so lawless is our attempt to test free of corruption.
The open seas is what you mean. The open
Yes.
seas
What did I say?
specifically.
Yeah.
Naval content, which might be different, but open seas. We don't have the open seas.
They were asked a question about, and we can talk about the harbingers here in a minute, but these are corruption zones basically that are lawless. And there was a question in the live stream that said, will these corruption zones that rotate, these harbingers, take the place of lawless zones? And the answer was, sort of your typical. We'll talk about it, but basically the answer was, we're going to keep them separate. We're going to keep lawless zones, and we're going to have these two. So I think that sort of answered the question of whether lawless zones are going to stay in the game. The answer seems to be yes. Those will persist. Those are no longer just for testing this corruption-free idea. But now you've also added a corruption area that is also lawless, that rotates. I don't know why the idea of corruption and an area being corrupted means that it has to be lawless. That I'm not sure the lore behind that. I'll be interested in reading why those areas are lawless because of being corrupted. Maybe they make us crazy. I don't know. But they have now also added this event system that introduces more lawlessness, which we also have POIs now that rotate with lawlessness too, which is also in game. So your sort of expansion of lawless, corruption-free areas just continues to sort of grow and grow and grow.
So the lawless zones are permanent. I mean, I'm just not. I don't mean in terms of. I don't mean in terms of whether or not they'll be in the release. I mean that the concept is that the lawless zones are always this way, and then the harbingers are like on a loop or some kind of cycle.
Correct. It'll rotate.
Okay.
Some sort of predicates have to be met, and then all of a sudden, boom, bam, I'm a jerk.
And they will expand if
Yeah.
you don't take care of them. What do you say? Like
Ooh.
40, like potentially like 40%
Up to 40% of the settlement region.
become corrupted. So,
Mm.
you're just adding in, if you factor in lawlessness with corruption with POIs, I mean, at what point is it now it's greater than 50%? I've not done the math, but at what point is greater than 50% of your environment corruption free?
Yeah, it's
'cause
not
you
a
have to
PvP
be,
game.
you have to potentially be getting there. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Up, Glavely. For those of you who don't know, I have sort of created a shit, I'm stuck in crafting in my head. A chat, my own chat program that pulls in from YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok, and will eventually pull from Kick too. But yeah, that's what the nicely colored label on our overlay is TikTok. So, and when you see Forge Maester, you can actually reply to that. I don't have it going to TikTok yet, but we can now see TikTokers chats in Twitch chat. But anyways,
Yeah, what strikes me again as amusing is that was kind of my very first question to Steven the very first time we had him on was compare Ash's PvP to Arcage and Eve PvP. And he said, well, the difference is that Arcage has these zones that kind of rotate into PvP and out, and Ashes will not have that. Ashes will have the corruption mechanic across the entire map. And so then we open seas, and then lawless zones, and now we've got harbingers. So just I find that amusing.
yeah, I mean, it would be an interesting thing to do, is look at some of the original Kickstarter video. Plus, they did a series of interviews that during Kickstarter. I mean, I think there's 6, 7, 8 of them. And just look at how things are now compared to what was mentioned back then. I had done it with the character creator. I don't know if you remember that. I mean, I did actually. There's a video they put out of Steven talking with what's his name? He's not there anymore. One of their original artists.
Matt Broom.
Yes, I think that's who. And they were talking about this character creator, and it was really cool because then fast forward several years, and you get the character creator, and you can actually go back, and they were literally talking about what you had now, like that did not change, but I feel like now, because at the time that was sort of like evidence of, look, they're sticking to everything. Now I don't know if that was just a one-off. Of course, now we still don't have, the character creator is still kind of stuck in limbo too.
When were we supposed to get our hands on the? Well,
Everyone was supposed to get their hands on the character creator pre-Alpha 2. That's what was always promised. That was a year ago.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting. It's not been something they've talked about much. I mean, what they have is okay, but I think a lot of people would say the characters still kind of look funky.
People have been saying that. They put
out a post on Twitter or X or whatever, I think last week, maybe it was 2 weeks ago. But the character that they posted looked horrible. It looked like some morphed up Chucky doll. I mean, it looked terrible. And actually, people were commenting like, "This is the worst picture you've ever posted of your game. Like, what are you in your marketing? Like, what is happening here?" And it was legit. It was a terrible picture. And we've not really heard much more about the character creator. I think the last we really heard much about it was that part of the reason we'd not seen any of the Tolnars because they were having a hard time getting the blending process to work in the character creator. And so I don't know if that's still been their roadblock or what. You're
And
just
we what if I kind of feel like even our concept art for that has not really been much.
no, it's been a while since we've seen anything. There was the toe, right? What was it? Because they called him Tonar for a while,
Yeah, the tone art. Hmm.
which was probably not.
They gave a slight amount of detail,
Yeah,
but not enough to really, say or do too much with. And for all we know, it's changed since then.
Hmm. Hmm.
but in the meantime,
Oh, we got some heads.
in the meantime,
I see 3 heads. Hmm.
we are getting. They did say that they're in discussions about when to start doing selling skins again, so that's good. I mean, projects got to make money, so but priorities. So.
Hmm.
Will the Ashes visuals graphics look better on release?
Before 2030, probably.
It's such a hard question to ask or answer, Leroy, because if I have things turned up like ultra and I'm in the right area with the right lighting, Ashes looks tremendous. Like it can look incredibly beautiful. And then there were times like this morning I was running through the anvils and I thought I was in a damn Bob Ross painting. Like things were, it was the weirdest shit ever. Like trees were kind of looked weird in the distance. Normally you look off in the distance and looks really nice and the lighting's really good. And it looked really weird. So that's such a hard question to answer. I don't know why it's so inconsistent. My hardware's not changed at all from all of alpha, alpha 2. So it's just a hard question to answer. Yeah, and then you also then you have your armor skins that look really good. Like the one I keep forgetting the name of it, but it looks really good. I don't know if it's just where they're being able to spend time putting work into the art. We don't know how much AI type sort of generation or tools they're using either for some of this. So we definitely know they are for the audio. So visuals is just really hard to answer. And it's really hard to sort of justify anymore because you have more, you just have UE5 after UE5 after UE5 game come out. What's the other one? Where wins something to win something?
Where winds meet? Where winds meet?
Right. Yeah. Which is like this hybrid single player MMO kind of experience. I'm very interested to play actually and see what that's like. But, that's another UE5 game. The character creator looks amazing. It's just I don't know. It's hard to understand the differences.
It's all humans, so that's a little easier. I know that even the human was looking kind of janky. I'm just saying it's easier for them to spend time on that in a game that has all humans and pretty much all Asian humans than one that's trying to do multiple races. It's gonna be more challenging.
I don't know. It's just it literally. I'm not trying to avoid the question. It's just a hard question to answer because there are times that I look at Ashes and I think this game looks damn beautiful, and then there are times it's like, what is this mess?
UE5 is really easy to make beautiful landscapes and all of that. So environments. I think that's kind of a danger might be a little bit strong, but it's easy to look at a UE5 game and say, "Oh my goodness, I want to run around in that world," and it might not be
the machine that can actually run it, because that's the other side. It is not very good on performance. It requires a very powerful machine that's going to be very hot.
Yeah.
There was another. I know we only got so much more time left, but sorry, I'll just stop by your stream. And like previous phases, you were grinding mobs. So what stands out more with this new phase? Outside of killing mobs, nothing. To be blunt. Well, we have anvils. I mean, I have a new area to run around in, but it's pretty bare with stuff.
Well, wait. So we have 2 new races. Yeah,
that's true. You do have,
and we have supposedly the anvils to explore.
It needs some work.
it needs some work, but I'm saying theoretically it's there. That's something new to kind of explore. What about the mobs or dungeons in that area in the Anvils?
I mean, they've
I'm
added a
guessing
few.
there's a new dungeon. Mm-hmm.
They've got some pocket stuff that I've ran through a little bit.
What? Phantom, you kind of said that it's about the same, but when you're playing through this time, is there something new that you're trying to explore?
No,
You said, was it economy or crafting that you were hoping would have a significant change for you?
well, the whole
I
economy
thought you said
system,
one of the two.
the whole economy and crafting systems are kind of a mess, and they admit that. I mean, they pushed out a change. They're still ingesting data about it, and they're not done changing it. It's been a mess. Probably the biggest mess has just been item drops. Like they're just not existent anymore. But
And then crates didn't excite you?
I don't have anything to transport. Nothing. I get glint. I guess I could
Okay.
chop some trees down. That's the other
Build
thing.
a town.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. You have to go. Your rocks. You don't see copper nodes anymore. Like everything's contained within in the rocks. So it's kind of it's a mixed bag as to what you get. So you're having to chop up a lot of trees, or sorry, you're harvesting a lot, and your inventory is limited too. So, and then the way it is right now, some of the crafting stations for the anvils are literally separated by a mountain. So you have like if you thought. No, they are. Like if you thought running around the Riverlands to get, which I thought was kind of a pain in the ass. Like I didn't like how the Riverlands had so many things spaced out. There's literally a mountain in between some of the crafting stations, so you have to run from here to there. Where we spent most of our day to day, there was, I think, your enchanting or whatever alchemy, like leather working, stonework stuff. But there's also no storage there. So then you have to run all the way back to wherever you do keep things stored. And then, which could be, literally the other side of the
When
mountain.
you talk to an NPC, look for the little box icon at the top of the window, and you can actually open your storage for that region from the vendor.
Well, I'll have to do that. And I get the idea of wanting the world to feel big and having to go places. But when you're talking about entry level crafting, like players that are like levels 1 through 10, it's not worth it. And I think most players, unless you just want to be a crafter, most people are just trying to get to 25 and then they're going backwards. And then they'll do crafting after that. Because also right now, you don't have your stations. Like you don't, not everything's even turned on to be able to get the tools to further your craft. So it makes more sense just to level up, wait for things to come online. But that was another complaint. I think there was even like a Reddit post or something I saw that was like, it took me 8 hours to craft a sword or something, because this was somebody that, granted, I think also didn't know that it was their first time playing, so they didn't know some of the ins and outs, which probably would have saved them time had they known that. But that's still that new player experience. If you're new, is every new person really going to spend 5-6 hours to craft a pair of boots? I mean, the answer to that's no.
So, I can cook all the food that I want in Maryland, but if I want shoes, I'm gonna have to go across the mountain into Kentucky.
I
be able to
literally
find
separated by a mountain.
to get some shoes, because nobody in Maryland knows how to make shoes. We just know how to cook. But if we want shoes, we'll have to go over to Kentucky, and we'll bring some food because they don't know how to cook.
Like, I don't know why you
can make some great shoes.
I don't know why you make basic crafting stations so rare. Like, okay, yes, your grandmaster stuff, sure. You only want that in specific node, or, specific freeholds, whatever. Your really good gear, you need to get parts from the Eastern continent as well. So you got to transport it. Okay, I get that. You got to go all the way to Sand Squall to get something to bring it back to the anvil so you can craft some specific sword. But this is levels 1 through 10. Like this, there's no need to have these little basic crafting stations separated or so hard to find. It doesn't make any sense. Once you start getting your journeyman stuff and above, sure. As your node specializes in your freeholds, but it just otherwise it's I don't understand it. 1-1, what's up? I haven't seen you for a while. Steven was hinting at beta date during the live. He's nowhere near close. You might think that, but I am the odd one that thinks that there is a very guided reason for bringing up beta so quickly, and that is because they do think they are close, or they intend to be close, no matter what. So, anyways,
Yeah. Well, also it becomes interesting again how they label stuff. Like, I mean, technically, isn't this really Alpha 6 that we're on? If we, Alpha 0, Alpha.
there was a.
I mean, we've had so many versions of a Alpha rename
There.
Since 2017.
There was a very Laws put in Laws Scalaburn plays with me in the mornings. Great tank, by the way, if you ever see him on EU. Actually put a screenshot post that's I think older. I think it was from a couple of years ago into our Discord, but it is of a Intrepid dev saying in no hidden terms that the game's development didn't start until 2021. Everything before that was just like demos or sort of proof of concept sort of things they threw together. And that it really did not begin until 2021 when they switched to UE5. Was that 2021?
That was after 2021. That would have been after Alpha 1, right?
Switched to UE5.
I think it was 2021 and after the Alpha ended.
Yeah, well, and that's yes, which that post no longer exists. It's been deleted. And I think that's something you would never, ever want anyone to say publicly, because that starts to raise the questions. Well, what were you selling people from 2017 to 2021 when you did have an Alpha 0 and you did have APOC? I don't know. But
APOC, nobody actually wanted APOC. Alpha 1, people wanted Alpha 1. Alpha 2, well, I guess this is what it is. Like Alpha 1 really
it is very different from Alpha 1.
If Alpha 1 was their proof of concept, my question is, why did you steer from that? It was glorious. It was so good. You were doing so well. You were doing so well. What happened? You fell off the wagon, young man.
It's just, I don't know. And if they do go into beta, I don't think that means the game's doomed. I think they could still put out a decent product.
It's all just terms until it hits that live release day one. Your subscriptions now cost you.
Mm-hmm.
When that day comes, if you don't have a product that will enrapture a giant community of onlookers who have been looking at a lot of positive press and a lot of happy people playing and talking about the game, that you can actually, make back the amount that you need and then some. And then after that, everything else is, let's see if we can keep doing more work and make more money and make more product and make it more fun so people stay. But until that day, until that happens, until that time comes where it has to be that good of a product, they can call it whatever the hell they want and put whatever name after it they want or number.
Yeah.
So if somebody is putting pressure on Steven and Steven wants to start talking about beta because he wants to start calling it beta, even if the teams aren't necessarily ready because somebody else, wants to light a fire under the team's asses or whatever, so be it. But until that thing is live launch ready, it's not worth releasing. You just wait. You keep working. You definitely don't release with 2 archetypes.
secondary archetypes. Yeah.
Well, we still don't have the summoner. I mean, that's what November is what we're. Well, they called it they called it a cherry on top. Cherry on top. So, that doesn't
cherry on top of what?
on top of Harbingers. So that doesn't mean it's going to be there. That's the cherry that we get. It just my wife's boyfriend. That's really nice. That's a TikToker. I mean, that's fine. I like McDonald's.
I
The other
never would have guessed.
Not a sponsor.
I never would have guessed that it would take us 4 years after playing Dunir to see Nakua in the game. Especially since the game was supposed to release in 3 years. Like it just kind of blows. So when you think we haven't seen Summoner, I mean, I don't know. It seems like
how many Kickstarters I've backed that actually released when they said it was going to.
Oh, I mean, right. I mean, for an MMORPG to release within 3 years is just crazy talk. But my point is, when you're saying the full game was going to release, that it takes you 4 years just to make a different version of a dwarf, and get it in game, that's just shocking.
And all the armors in the game have to be able to look good on it. So that's another layer of the work that, they might have been closed, but then they add more stuff. And it's like, well, you got to be able to wear these too.
That is what I was telling people in 2021 after the alpha, when they were saying that the Dunir looked too much like a gnome. And I said, don't expect it to change very much, because if they're trying to release soonish, like 2022, 2023, they can't change it too much, because that means they're going to have to tweak all the armor and all of the mounts that they're supposed to sit on and all the doorways that they're supposed to fit through and all of that stuff. It can only get, because they were saying they wanted a much broader dwarf, and I'm like, it can only go so big and broad, because otherwise expect a delay. But even when I said expect a delay, I was not expecting a delay of 4 years before we see Nakua. But at least we got it. We got him in.
and their front flip that half the people hate.
Yeah.
Somebody came on stream this morning, like, damn, dwarves still have that stupid front flip. I'm like, yep, I can show it to you right now. They're asking, why can't we turn it off? It's actually not like, maybe there is an option to eventually turn it off. I don't know. See, there are a couple other things that Burns, he had a good.
That's actually villainous movement, is what it is.
Villainous movement. I wish.
Yes,
people are treating it like that.
But again, the Burns interview is really good. Another thing, he had asked about Mendelian genetics and animal husbandry, which is an interesting answer. Stephen kind of mentioned, the coding behind it, the data behind it's not hard, which is true. I actually have a working game thing myself with implementing that. It's the visualization of the changes is what's hard, and I agree with that. I think that's it's probably an artist. Probably difficult to try to implement that. But what was more important was he did mention that he had put off development of animal husbandry until the next year. So it got pushed next year. So what we have right now is what we have.
Well, until you got freeholds going, it's probably a good idea to hold off on the things that you need freehold to do.
Yeah, and I think he said it's because they were already behind on their sprint that got them to phase 3, and so he just decided to move it. So that was interesting. Speaking of freeholds,
we got about 3.5 months before they take their winter break and then reorganize in January. So.
We need to be asking about Extra Life, don't we? Is that in September?
They didn't do it last year. I don't know if they didn't.
I know.
I don't know if
for the first time and after 7 years.
think they said they were going to do something else, and they never. I don't know that they ever did. Later on, regarding server performance, no Phantom X is on EU. How's your experience on EU service? EU's great. EU, but I think it's largely because it's such a lower pop. Like I've never had any sort of wait. There's never been a queue to get in. I think actually like Winstead or something on the NA server crashed today. And some of the pictures from that were hilarious. It was like everybody was sucked into a black hole and it was really small and they were all kind of, it looked hilarious. It's one of those things. It's like
dynamic rigging fail.
Well, probably was, but it's one of those things. It's like, how do you even get like, how did your code even, how was it even able to look like this? Like, what did you do?
No, that's why I think it was a dynamic rigging fail, because it tried to get the proxies of everybody in the area to all draw, but unfortunately it decided to draw them all in one place.
Yeah. But Lumi, I'm gonna probably roll on NA and just to see what it's like. Just to see if there's any differences. But I've had no performance. That's been probably one of the bigger things I've noticed from a difference between phase 2 and phase 3 is, for me at least, the performance has been okay. Now I think Neuro's actually had a harder time from what he was saying. He's crashed more phase 3 than anything.
It's continuing to be crashy, and it's been more crashy than it was in phase 2. So 5.6 not doing me any favors. Other things they might have changed under the hood since then, not doing me any favors.
I should try it. I had the Lindy Hop Festival, so I've been going to dance classes during the day and playing No Man's Sky at night, but I should jump into Ashes at some point. And I really just wanted to build a ship that I could walk through. Which I was finally able to do today. So I have a little time to jump into Ashes and check to see what it's like. But
the last thing I wanted to mention, because I know we're starting to get close to time, Stephen during the Burns interview was asked again about sort of communication, and it was I think Burns started it with, this is a spicy question, and he basically asked why did we get freeholds different from what you showed in Freehold Stream? And so Stephen presented the answer. Well, we gave, what they've always said, there's a vertical slice. We communicate to you that this is a work in progress, that it could change. We are communicating. There's just people out there that aren't listening. And he went on specifically to talk about the freeholds. They do have the art assets. They have the cows and the pigs and the furniture, but they just started interacting with furnitures a month ago. He said, I think, that the actual interactable form of it. They didn't have animations and stuff done at the time. They didn't have UI done at the time of freeholds. And so when I heard him say that, I'm like, I get that, but when you say this is a work in progress, players are going to assume what you're showing them is your progress. Like, you're showing me your progress. I'm not going to know that you don't actually have this. Like, you're saying this is our work in progress. And so I kind of take a little bit of an issue when he says that. It's like, just because you say it's a work in progress doesn't mean you get a free pass for everything. What you're showing is what we think is your progress. If it's not, you should say that. You should say, we don't have the UI to place it yet. That's why we're not showing you the UI, because it doesn't exist. We can't interact with the bed because we've not developed that yet. Like, those are the things that they don't mention, but then you see these things and you think it's their progress. So, I still think it's a communication issue. And I think there's reasons they don't mention all these things, because they don't want you to necessarily know where they're at in development. But I don't think it's as cut and dry as he tries to present it. I'm going to think that's your progress. Like,
yeah.
I would rather you just tell me, like, you know what, we can't show you putting it down because we don't have the UI yet. I think that's perfectly fine. That's reasonable. Like, that's a reasonable thing to say. Like, we just don't have it developed yet. Okay, that helps my expectations. What I took from that is, if we're shown something new and there are big elements of it that we aren't shown, that means they probably don't exist yet, and you should assume it doesn't exist. So if we're shown something, like, let's say they pull out a siege vehicle tomorrow. Hey, we're going to stream. Look at this. We got a brand new siege vehicle. and all they show you is it walking up, is it being rolled up to a wall or something, then what I took from that is you should assume nothing else is done. There's no UI. There's no, this, and like, if you didn't see it, it doesn't exist. Is kind of how I took that.
Well,
Which is probably not true, but in the absence of other communication.
Well, where I'm going with it is, when was the last time we had sieges?
Well,
No, I don't know if they're actually working in this phase right now or not.
Have they been working in Alpha 2 at all?
I didn't really follow much of 2.5. They were working in 2. Some.
And how do the sieges work? What happens? You go and you do the siege, and then what happens?
No,
let's see.
There's no destruction.
Other than the ones that we're doing on tests, no, I guess it was just the wars, not the sieges.
Well, New Ayla, was that a war or a siege? I know New Ayla lost. It was because it was NA versus EU when we had the shared server, but I can't remember if that was a node war.
Because
I think it was a node war, actually.
We had sieges in Alpha 1. I don't think we've had those in Alpha 2.
Only testing.
Sieges existed in Alpha 1, but they don't seem to exist during Alpha 2 yet. So even when the stuff does exist,
will actually build up enough.
I'm just saying, there's stuff that we've seen in Alpha 1, but we've also been told that it's a completely different game, right? Since Alpha 1. So just because we saw it in Alpha 1 doesn't mean that it exists for Alpha 2. So it's just an interesting thing in that light. And, Steven's going to spin. So it's going to be kind of wonky. He's not going to really say anything negative. So you have to take all that stuff with a grain of salt.
I feel like
I say, I still find it super amusing how he spun my question that very first time about, tell me about the PvP. And now the PvP is very much like it was for Arcade, with the addition of open seas and lawless areas, and now Harbingers. It's even more close to Arcade as far as I'm concerned. So, he's going to spin it as, yay, this is a feature, not a bug. It's a feature. This is what we wanted all along. Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of all I got. There will be a religious wars as well at some point. That's cool.
Yeah.
Look forward to that.
Supposedly. He did talk about religion in the Burns interview, I think. I heard.
There'll be shrines. You can carry crates to the shrines. Eventually the shrines, what do they call it? It becomes something else. A temple. Yeah, a temple. You can eventually, if you bring enough crates, your tribute, which I guess your tribute also gives you rep and some other stuff, which then gives you access to items and other things that you wouldn't have otherwise, and buffs. But eventually it can turn into a temple. And if your religion has the majority of the temples, then your religion becomes the world religion.
I was going to say, and also eventually we will get nodes 3, but I guess
settlements 1.
We don't have nodes anymore.
Settlements 1. That's what we'll look for.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I think it's about 9:30. I don't know if there's anything else. We got 5 minutes technically.
I think that'll do it.
So yeah, where we're at, phase 3 is, it's moving. It does feel a little bit more stable, but I laugh because I feel like, I know I've done this. I kept saying, when phase 1 started, oh, well, phase 3 is the real Alpha 2, but then we get to phase 2. No, well, phase 3 is the real Alpha 2. And now we're at phase 3. And you know what I say? November 18th is the real phase, is the real Alpha 2 when we get this event coming on. So I wonder if that's just going to, in my head, keep moving back to where is the real Alpha 2.
We'll have Alpha 2 before 2030.
All right. Well, everyone,
Alpha 2 is the new Alpha 1.
appreciate y'all hanging out. I did start streaming again this weekend, so I'll probably stream again next weekend. We'll see. I don't know. It was hard to get excited about it today, to be honest, but we'll see how it goes. As always, you guys got anything else to close out with?
No.
You guys though have got me launching into No Man's Sky, so we'll definitely have to play though. I do have something. We just came across our what was that, the 11-year anniversary of Theory Forge?
Yes.
So, you know, we've kind of been talking about it. We may or may not like have Theory
Some
Forge,
Theory Forge
maybe come
episodes.
back and talk about more different games and stuff, because Ashes ain't the only pony we've been riding.
Yep.
Speaking of which, No Man's Sky.
Yeah, and that pony's starting to hurt my ass. So, all right, guys. Appreciate it.
All
Everyone,
right.
have a wonderful week. Have a good holiday tomorrow, and we will see you next
The
time.
exit criteria for the episode.
Yes. See ya. Bye.